This is Kid Shriner, the voice of the Green Arrow.
This is George Newbern, the voice of Superman.
You are listening to the DCAU Review, hosted by Cal and Liam.
Streaming at DCAUreview.com and on your favorite podcast app.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 366 of the DCAU Review. I am one of your hosts, Cal, and with me are other host, Liam. Liam, it was a momentous occasion. It was a month for the ages last month as we celebrated a pair of superhero movies hitting the silver screen. But we've turned the page now, and we are moving back away from re-reviews, which last month was, and we're looking at an episode for the very first time today as we are looking back once again at the Justice League Unlimited series, Season 3, as we pick things up where we left off with our Legion of Doom, Gorilla Grodd, Lex Luthor battle for power within their Legion of Doom-esque looking gang. And the Justice League slowly coming out of the darkness and kind of stumbling upon what their plans may be, with a interesting one today that doesn't necessarily revolve all around that team, but certainly connect some dots, and we have some building blocks here for the rest of the season here.
Absolutely, yeah. This ends up being kind of a big, hinge tentpole episode for this whole season, as you said. Some big moves are afoot, both for the Justice League and for our secret society. So excited to talk about Dead Reckoning, which also features the DCA debut of another classic DC Comics character, though I guess he's not officially a Justice League member, at least not yet.
That's right. We're talking about Deadman, who is here in this episode, and interestingly enough, this episode follows the Trinity. We really have them as our major players. A couple of cameos here or there from some other heroes, but mainly just our Trinity and Deadman are the main focus here. And we'll get into our review of this episode here in just a second. Before we do, we will, of course, get to the Internet Movie Database synopsis for this week's episode, which originally aired here in the United States on the Cartoon Network on February the 18th, 2006. And Liam, before we get that IMDb synopsis, we will remind the folks at home that it is brought to you by buymeacoffee.com/DCAU Review, the power source, so to speak, the power battery, if you will, for the DCAU Review. That's what we run on right there. When we need to recharge, we reach for that cup of coffee, that energy drink, that bit of caffeine. And the best way to help us out if you enjoy this podcast is to head over to buymeacoffee.com/DCAU Review and support the podcast. You can become a one-time supporter of the podcast. Perhaps like some of our friends have done, to attempt to sway us to review certain topics, certain episodes, certain series. That's a good way to kind of influence us there. Influence the influencers, if you will. And then, if you like the podcast so much that you want us to just kind of know it all the time, and you want some perks for your support, we give back to you with some really interesting perks for supporting the podcast. Being a monthly supporter, you can do that. Check out one of our 3 different levels. We have 3 different levels. They all come with perks. Our top tier level is the Super Friend tier. The Super Friend tier gets you the opportunity to ask us a question on the air here about the episode that we're reviewing, and answer it. Here are answers about the episode, and we have questions later on in the episode that we will be reviewing here. So tune in just a little bit for our answers this week, and perhaps you'd like to join those growing list of supporters. Head over to buymeacoffee.com/DCAU Review, and please support the podcast today.
Absolutely. And this is the synopsis for Dead Reckoning, written by Dwayne McDuffie, directed by friend of the show Dan Reba, music by the Dynamic Music Partners, and animation by DR Movie Co. And that synopsis reads as such. Deadman calls on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Oh, sorry, I got stuck there. Deadman calls on Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to help him recover an orb containing the souls of a monastic order that was stolen by the secret society. Oh,
Monastic.
Somebody got a thesaurus out for this one. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Brownie points awarded.
Well done. Well done, IMDb synopsis writer. You get I think that gets give me a B+ on that one. That's a good grade. Yeah, William, but we'll talk about our own synopses here as we open things up here with the spirit of our dead man already existing here. We don't get any backstory. We're kind of just dropped into that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Well, I guess we could talk about it briefly here. So it's kind of fuzzy, but if you head back and look at both the Batman Gotham Adventures and even before that, the Batman and Robin Adventures comic book series, this character was actually introduced in that series, which is, I think, one of the things that people often point to when they're looking at the comics is there's stuff that certainly interferes with quote unquote canon to what's happening on the show, things that don't make any sense, things that make them seem less than real. But then you have things like this, where we have characters who have never appeared before on our screen, but we get references to their backstory, which really does align with what we saw in the comics, which is Batman essentially, Robin knew Deadman from Haley's Circus. Correct me if I'm wrong. Haley's Circus. And then there's a murder that happens at Haley's Circus that comes back into Gotham. This is in the Batman and Robin Adventures issue. They stop the murder. They solve the killer, whatever. It's a very, very similar to what happened to Robin's parents, obviously, to Dick. This is Dick Grayson at this time. And then in the Gotham Adventures book is actually where Boston Brand is actually murdered. He gets killed by someone, and his spirit hangs around on the earth, and he's given the chance to help solve the murder, his own murder. But at the end of that comic book, I believe he's kind of told he's going to stick around on Earth. And we learn a little bit about that as we go through here today. But that's our backstory from what we know about this version of the DCAU Boston Brand, aka Deadman. And we see the Deadman asking this temple master, who we learn is in Nanda Parbat, asking him for advice, asking him why he is still sort of subjected to wander the earth. And the master tells him that it's because even though despite the fact that he caught the man who killed him, that it is Deadman's own destiny to avenge more deaths than that. In fact, it is to avenge his own death, meaning the Master's death.
I know you are here, Boston Brand.
What's the point of being a flippin' ghost if you can't even sneak up on people? For that matter, what's the point of me being a ghost, period? It's been over a year since I caught the man who murdered me.
So, your work here is done. You are ready to pass on to the next level.
I don't know what ready means, but I feel like I've done my time.
And yet, here you are.
Here you are? What kind of lousy wisdom is here you are?
If you seek knowledge, you have but to ask.
I've avenged my own death. Why am I still here?
Your destiny is not to avenge your own death. Your destiny is to avenge mine.
What?
And just then we see cut out to the outside, a snowy mountainside, as we see Lex Luthor rather, and also Devil Ray and a few others, Tala and who else is there?
Rampage, Bizarro.
Yes,
a bunch of Devil Ray's guys.
That's right.
These Devil Ray guys.
The Devil Ray crew members. The expendable Devil Ray crew members.
I was going to say, action item for the week. Please give us a name for his crew. Any, like, the punnier, the better.
Yes, we will take that, please. They all show up, and they immediately kill the one guard who's on the outside that appears to be responsible. Big, muscly guy. He's shot dead immediately before we get our credits. From Devil Ray, at least appears to be dead. as the group continues their incursion on the sanctuary of the monks. We see another monk, a smaller, much younger, bald, all bald, by the way. They're all bald, but a younger monk stops him, and that's when the rest of the crew puts up a large fight, saying that in order to go any further, they're going to have to be defeated. So we learn very quickly that despite the fact that the Legion appears that they sort of underestimate this group, is I think based on their stature and their seemingly calm presence, they underestimate them. But we learn that they are very experienced in martial arts. They're able to hold their own in one form or fashion. And we see they are slightly overwhelmed by this group as the group does make its way forward, eventually overcoming the group. We do see, however, that they make their way to the stairs, and that's where the master of this temple comes out, telling them that they need to get past him in order to enter further. We learned that they're attempting to steal what they call the heart of Nanda Parbat, which is housed inside this temple. We learn a little bit about what that is in just a little bit, but he makes it very clear that he is even more, despite of his peaceful appearance, is even more formidable than his predecessors there that they were able to the Legion was able to defeat. He's able to deflect some of the little tiny pitchfork barbs that Devil Ray has been shooting, the wrist gauntlets at him. He's able to deflect them pretty easily. Devil Ray shoots the door frame, and it collapses onto our monk, crushing him and seemingly killing him. By the way, Deadman is forced to witness all of this. He tries his best to unbury the master, but of course, because he's not physical, he cannot.
Stand aside or you're dead.
In the fullness of time, we are all dead. This is not the way to end my life.
Master!
Do not waste your time, Boston Brand. This portion of my journey has come to an end.
But
we will meet again.
So it's this point that we see for the very first time, at least here in cartoon form, we see Deadman's powers at work. He ends up possessing Rampage for a bit, and actually does a pretty interesting job of taking out some of his fellow Legion of Doomers. But at the very last minute, we see that Tala, who is accompanying them, is able to tell that he has possessed the body of Rampage. So she is able to expel Deadman and restrain him while they are able to take the heart of Nanda Parbat from its container. They're able to escape, and Boston Brand is there left to wonder how in the world he can avenge the death of his master and the other monks at this point.
Ramakrishna, just like you to show up too late to help.
Your impertinence is refreshing as always, but have a care. The gods are capricious.
What do you want from me? The master is dead. They're all dead.
Do not presume to lecture me on the nature of reality. The monks have not yet passed from this plane.
They're in some kind of coma?
That is as close to the truth as you are capable of comprehending. You must retrieve the heart of Nanda Parbat, or they will remain in their current state for all time. I have spoken.
How the heck am I supposed to do that?
We then cut back to the watchtower, and our Justice League is there. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman standing all together. They're talking about some plans that maybe they can do off the clock, which I thought was interesting here. Superman, of course, being the down to earth, pun intended, down to earth human that he is. He's suggesting a good old fashioned burger joint that has some really incredible fries and milkshakes. But before he can even finish just how great the milkshakes are, the dead man arrives and possesses his body.
Is that really everything?
We're done. All reports filed.
Good. What do you guys say we get something to eat? We hardly ever spend time together when we're not working.
Sounds good to me. But I'm tired of commissary food.
I'd like to, Diana, but I've been away from Gotham too long.
Come on, Bruce. I know a burger place in Metropolis that has the best fries on the East Coast. And the milkshakes are so thick, I need your help.
That's pretty thick.
I'm serious. I need your help on a mission of vengeance. Now, don't be alarmed, but I'm not Superman. I'm
a ghost inhabiting his body. Is that you, Boston?
Hiya, Bats. When I'm working, people call me Deadman.
You know this, Ghost?
Yeah, Batman helped me solve my own murder a while back. Now, I need your help again.
If you hurt Superman, I'll...
Relax. He doesn't even know I'm in here.
We can't see or hear him otherwise. Once he leaves, Superman will be fine.
It's like he says.
Why are you still around? I thought once your murder was solved, your exile was ended.
You and me both. You know how they say no good deed goes unpunished? I guess I shot my mouth off to the wrong deity.
What's this about?
A bunch of supervillains busted into Nanda Parbat and stole a mystic totem filled with the souls of hundreds of monks, and they killed the master.
Batman?
He knew the master even before I did.
He was one of my martial arts teachers.
With all the power in this body, it'd be easy to punish the men responsible if I could find them.
That's not the master's way, or yours. We'll find them and we'll see that justice is done, not vengeance.
Yeah, fun to think about, though.
Let's go up to Ops and see if you can't pick the bad guys out of a photo array.
All of a sudden, Superman has a thick, like, New York, Brooklyn accent to talk from, which is really, really great. Or maybe it's supposed to be Massachusetts. I don't know, but it's definitely a northeastern accent that he's going with here. And a thick one at that. So immediately Wonder Woman is confused, but Batman, being Batman, knows everything, realizes before he can even spew what's going on that Superman has been possessed, and recognizes Boston Brand as the likely culprit. The villains are also continuing their planning. Wonder Woman suggests that the possessed Superman and Batman and her all go look at a villain lineup so that he can identify who was behind the attack. And through that lineup, he's able to identify everybody except who Tala was. They're not familiar with her, but identifies everybody else. Batman mentions that this is the first time that they've spotted Lex Luthor since the run-in on Black Hawk Island that we had in a previous episode, where Shira had run into Luthor there. So they're confused as to what exactly is going on. They believe that it could be linked, obviously, to our Gorilla Grodd-led team, but they kind of put it together pretty quickly. Wonder Woman assesses that maybe they are, in fact, planning a new secret society, and Batman's on board with that. Deadman, once again speaking through Superman, notes that he can sense the heart of Nanda Parbat, but unfortunately is not able to locate it specifically, only that it is on the continent of Africa, which is a big clue to our heroes. They know exactly where this orb is located at this point.
That's right. Batman immediately gets on the comms and radios down to our old friend Solivar down in Gorilla City, trying to alert him of the impending attack. But unfortunately, our Justice Leaguers are just a little bit behind schedule here, as the invasion has already commenced, and Solivar and his gorilla soldiers are a little bit under. That's gorilla with an O, not GUER soldiers. They may also be that type of soldier too. We don't know.
Sure.
We don't see a lot about their tactics. But anyway, yes, Sullivar mentions that they're under attack and are absolutely overrun with supervillains.
Sullivar, this is Batman.
What a coincidence. I was just about to call you.
Wanted to give you a heads up. We've got reason to believe that Grodd's headed your way.
You don't say. That might explain the armies of supervillains attacking the city.
How bad?
All but taken over. They're already holding the central control building. We could use some help if you have any to spare. Can't chat. Signing off.
Gorilla City?
A hidden city of super-intelligent talking gorillas with technology far beyond anything humans have created.
No, really.
You're the ghost from the Himalayas having trouble believing this?
Point.
Batman, Wonder Woman, and the possessed Superman teleport down to Gorilla City, or the outskirts at least, thanks to Mr. Terrific, who has, I guess this is our first confirmation that he's now guy in chair since John is gone.
Yeah.
So he's the one running the whole show now, which perfect. Not, serendipity that we just got to introduce maybe Mr. Terrific to a much larger audience with the recent Superman movie. But I was like, hey, there he is. When I got excited when I saw him in this as the new guy in the chair. I was like, oh yeah, perfect. That's exactly who should be running all the missions if Sean's not available. But yes, they teleport down to Gorilla City. However, that force field / hologram thing is still in effect, and they can't get inside despite Deadman trying to use Superman's fists to pound their way in, and Batman tells him that that's really not going to do anything, and that instead what he should do is head into the city as a ghost and find a way to destroy the shield generator, or to deactivate it at the very least. As Deadman heads inside, he is able to find the central command center, I guess, and he sees atomic skulls stomping around as, of course, the battle between the gorillas and the secret society continues outside. Deadman takes control of the skull and unsure of which buttons deactivate the thing, as becomes sort of the way all of our problems are solved in this episode. You just start smashing things, and everything kind of works out. So as the possessed skull damages it, the shield goes down, allowing Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to fly in and start doing battle with some of our various supervillains. I think the DCAU wiki has a complete list, so maybe we'll read that when we get to visuals or something. But while they're battling, Deadman once again tries to confront Luthor, Grodd, and Tala, but of course, once again, Tala senses that he is possessing the atomic skull and uses a spell to cast him out of the building and to shield the main control center from Deadman's grasp. So as we see more of the battles unfurling, Deadman notices that Wonder Woman is about to engage Devil Ray and decides to possess her, and takes a little bit of revenge on Devil Ray as he calls out to her as Wonder Woman, or in Wonder Woman's voice, I should say, that he has killed her master, and she knocks him through the wall, and briefly considers ending it right there, but remembers the words of both his master and of Batman earlier, that this is not about vengeance but justice. And so he exits Wonder Woman's body, leaving her kind of a little bit confused as she shouts out that he should ask permission first. And yeah, that's good advice in general, fellas. But yes, we can move on there.
You killed my teacher, my friend.
You'll have to be more specific, lady. I've killed a lot of people.
The old monk.
What are you waiting for? You want revenge? Take it.
No, that's not what he would have wanted. Next time, ask permission.
As we finally get the big reveal as to exactly what Grodd's plan is. We see them place the orb, the heart of Nanda Parbat, into the shield generator of Gorilla City, and we see the old big gold mind control helmet that Grodd had back in his initial appearance in the original Justice League run. And Lex begins to exposit that this generator and the heart will allow Grodd to mind control the entire Earth, or at least be able to influence people from anywhere on Earth. And at this point, Grodd reveals the real plan, which he's been keeping secret from Lex.
Actually, that's just what I wanted you to think. My true plans are far more grand.
Tala?
Some sort of genetic reconfiguration matrix? You show impressive intellect for a Homo sapien. Using the massive carrier wave that, thanks to you, Gorilla City's shield generator can now produce, I'm about to send a signal that will rewrite human DNA. A devolution ray that will turn every man, woman, and child on Earth into an ape.
This is the plan. And by golly, he does it as they activate the machine while Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are still dealing with the rest of the secret society. Bizarro giving Superman a particularly tough time, but as they finally are able to sort of wind down and take out all of the remaining villains, we get a big wave of light that apparently envelops the entire world. And as soon as the light hits you, you're an ape. And that's so the stakes have never been higher as we approach the end of our third act here.
Yeah. Well, everybody's an ape now, at least in the vicinity of this machine. We see our Justice Leaguers get transformed, and I assume the rays begin going out across the rest of the world. So our Leaguers must act fast. We get some guerrilla warfare, if you will, between our transformed. I couldn't take this part seriously. Like Lex Luthor as an ape running around, very funny. Tala with an ape also, and she's got like the purple hair, but also like the little underbeard portion too. Yes. That goes under her chin. Sorry,
I do want to say, yeah, we should wait for visuals, but again, I can't wait. Just like last week, Lex is a hairless ape. That's really funny.
Very funny. Yes, he is completely bald still. But yeah, we our apes are running around here. Our villainous apes make the escape very quickly, which is great. They are out of there thanks to the now apish Tala, who helps them all escape. Luthor calls out Grodd, by the way, mentioning how dumb it is and what a dumb move it was, and how he cannot believe how stupid this is. And as they are escaping. So they escape back to the swamp. Meanwhile, Superman does his best, still empowered, by the way. He's able to use his X-ray vision to see the source of the waves, and realizes that the heart of Nanda Parbat is, in fact, right there in the machine. So he walks up to the machine. After fighting through a really strong electrocution, he's able to pull the machine completely off of the ground, hurl it into the air right before it explodes completely. And as it explodes, we see some green orbs scatter, and then some more rays come down, and our Leaguers transform back into humans almost instantaneously. So the conversation commences between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman at that point. Salivar also enters the room, mentioning that Gorilla Grodd had escaped, and as they're continuing to discuss what just happened, Devil Ray is spotted sneaking into the room and has his gun or his gauntlet raised, about to shoot Wonder Woman with her in his sights. And with Deadman hanging around still, he's there and possesses Batman, and who dives for a gun that I guess it's Luthor's gun or one of the other guy's guns that's on the floor, picks it up and shoots it at Devil Ray, who falls backwards and is electrocuted and killed.
Is everything okay?
Well, I'm sort of missing Flash's obligatory joke about how Grodd made a monkey out of us.
Just couldn't let it go unsaid.
Obligatory.
That's it, guys. Yuck it up. You saved the world, but I failed. Everyone in Nanda Parbat is gone. Forever.
We're in your debt again, Justice League.
If only Luthor and Grodd hadn't gotten away.
If it's any consolation, we've picked up nearly a dozen of his superpowered cronies. With more to come, I'm sure.
No! I didn't mean...
Bruce, Deadman took over your body. It wasn't your fault.
Let me explain. He would have shot her. I didn't have a choice.
And Batman regains consciousness with the gun in his hand, hurls it away, and realizes what's happened as he looks and sees a dead Devil Ray sitting across from him. And Superman does his best to try and calm down Batman, who was clearly shaken up that, he had a gun in his hand, let alone the fact that he was responsible for potentially killing Devil Ray. Superman tries to assure him that it was the fact that Boston Brand took over him and possessed him, but Batman just sort of walks away silently. Meanwhile, we get a showdown between Boston Brand and the Ramakrishna, who I don't think I mentioned the Ramakrishna, the first interaction that Boston has with the Ramakrishna, who essentially instructs him that he has to avenge the death of his master, and where he might be able to go to get help for that. So that's what inspired him to put him out here, and mentions that if he had balanced the scales at that point, essentially karma we're looking at here, if he balanced the scales of karma, that he would be allowed to leave Earth. But she mentions now that he's shot Devil Ray, that the scales are no longer balanced.
Boston Brand, your actions have led to the death of another.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
Intentions are immaterial. You were gifted with power to be used to balance the scales of karma. Because of your actions, the scale now is unbalanced.
Unbalanced? Thanks to Devil Ray and his team, the Master and all the other monks are dead.
Incorrect. When the heart was shattered, the essences of the monks were set free. Even now, their souls return to their rightful places.
Everybody, including the Master, who was believed to be dead at the beginning, have been resuscitated, and they are, in fact, alive and well.
What about the big guy that Devil Ray shot?
We do not see him.
Or all those guys that Bizarro incinerated.
We do not see them. So I think maybe you needed to have a physical body for... I don't know. That's fan theory there. Yeah, figure it out on your own. We then cut back to the Legion of Doom. Meanwhile, at a swamp, the Legion of Doom's headquarters, Grodd is there at the head of the table once again with all of the rest of the Legion of Doom, and he says that their master plan has suffered a temporary setback. Luthor has had about enough of it, though. He says that while he had expected to wait a couple more weeks to do this, he pulls out a gun and shoots Grodd point blank.
Since there's only one monkey left around here, I'm assuming that the Justice League found a way to stop the carrier wave.
There's more than one way to peel a banana. Next time...
I wasn't going to do this for another few weeks, but seriously, turning all of humanity into apes? That was your master plan? Listen up. From now on, I'm in charge of this operation. Anybody got a problem with that?
No problem at all, baby.
No one objects, including Tala, who was very clearly before romantically linked with Grodd, to the point where she said that Grodd was too much man for Giganta, so she wasn't worried about what would happen if Giganta were to get back out. And well, Tala has switched allegiances. She's now very close and doting on Lex Luthor, as we see Luthor is officially the new leader of our Legion of Doom, as we fade to black for this week's episode. All right, Liam. Man, I really wanted to love this episode. I was excited about going into it. I did not love this episode. I think it's fine. I don't hate this episode. I think there's enough to move our story along. There is a ridiculous element that I hold near and dear because it's comic book 101 of what a ridiculous plot, and the episode points out what a ridiculous plot it is, that our mastermind supervillain has gone to all of these lengths to collect all of these things and establish all of this stuff so that he can turn everyone into gorillas. Like that's his master plan. And to me, I think the only thing that sort of undercuts the ridiculousness of it in a way is that there's very little tension about how this problem is going to be solved. They stay gorillas for about 28 seconds of screen time, it feels like, and then everybody's back to normal. So at no point does it feel like that there is anything urgent, or that this is going to be life-threatening or universe-threatening. Maybe that's the point. It's supposed to be ridiculous, but it feels all wrapped up too easily. And it feels like for that last little quarter, or the last third of the episode, I should say, except for the part where Boston Brand saves Wonder Woman, he's not really the focus of the episode at that point, because he's a spirit and he's kind of locked out of the room while the Legion of Doom is doing their gorilla thing, and then the Trinity shows up and does the real fighting in that final scene, it seems. So I don't know. It kind of jumps around a little bit. I think there are some fun things. Obviously, Boston Brand possessing Superman enough to change his voice is funny, and I think Lex just shooting Grodd at the end is a good bit over the stupidity of the plan, but it's just not, like, it just fell short of my expectations. I think I obviously have seen this. It's just not a great, didn't capture my attention in the way that I kind of expected it to be on this rewatch. So did not blow me away.
Well, I think we need to break out the disagreement alarm.
My goodness. Dust it off, baby. Let's go.
I love this episode. I had so much fun. I just want to say, listen, if it were any other villain than Grodd, I would agree that turning everyone into gorillas is silly. But if you go back to that first episode, he's giving when he's mind controlled all of Central City and he's giving his town square speech.
Mm-hmm.
All he's talking about is how humans are physically and mentally inferior to humans. He's human racist. And therefore, he would want to turn everyone into apes. The only flaw in this, he's also a real Strom Thurmond in that he exclusively dates human women, it appears. But despite being publicly very anti-human. But that's right, Strom Thurmond reference. Look it up, kids. So I think this works because Grodd he's doing guerrilla eugenics because he hates humans so much.
Oh my god.
And I think that's hilarious. Now look, a lot of this does feel like, again, which a lot of these last season JLU episodes feel like, in that it was a checklist of, Bruce Timm and Dwayne McDuffie and Matt Wayne and some of the other people working on the show, James Tucker certainly, were like, hey, what are some DC locations that we all remember and liked in the comics but have never gotten to use? Like, we did the Scar Terrace episode, we did Viking Prince episode. Now we're doing the Nanda Parbat episode. We've never gotten to use Deadman before. So like a lot of this certainly happened. Like it feels like it just started with, hey, let's use Deadman and Nanda Parbat, and then we'll figure out what the rest of it is later. So I like certainly you could say that part of it feels slapdash, and it's like the heart of Nanda Parbat. It's like a reverse Phantom Menace. It blows up and then everyone comes alive again. Like that's kind of a fake out, I guess, and kind of a cop out way. But I guess one person dies, which is Devil Ray for sure. Maybe that's the other part that shocked me. There's a lot of on screen, they cut, maybe a little bit of cutting away from the actual impact, like with the big burly warrior at the front gate or whatever. But it's like there's a lot of people who just cop it straight up in this episode. Like
100%.
There's not a lot of
and it's like the first thing that you see too.
Right. And it's funny because like we maybe could touch on this later in voice acting, but I'll just mention it here because there's a note that I think on one of the DVD Blu-ray extras, Matt Wayne, the story editor and one of the writers on the show, mentioned that he and in fact Grodd's voice actor Powers Booth thought Grodd was killed because he gets shot point blank in the chest at the end of this episode. So the fact that he comes back, spoiler alert, later in the season was kind of a surprise to even some of the people working on the show. So yeah, it's a weirdly violent episode, and then the rest of it, yeah, I love that it's just that the Trinity is really like the main focus. We really don't have any other episodes where it's just these three that I can think of. I guess for the man who has everything, but even then, like. Yeah, but even then, like one of them is always incapacitated with the Black Mercy, so it's fun seeing them like all in action, kicking butt together. I think that's a lot of fun. So I just think there's a lot to enjoy, and even though I can understand why Lex would hate the idea of turning everyone into apes, but like I think it's a perfect Grodd plan because again, he is human racist. So I think it's a beautiful, perfect plan for Grodd, and I was howling with laughter. I do think it's very stupid that the way they solve it is just Superman just breaks the computer.
Yeah.
Gorilla Superman just grabs it and throws it into the sky and it blows up.
I was to say that to clarify, yes, it is dumb. And I think it's meant to be dumb. That's why they make fun of it, which is fine. And like I said, it is near and dear to my heart in a way that this is the most like. It's a love letter to that Super Friends show. Like that sounds like a plot that would have been on that show. Like Grodd is there and he's going to turn all of our heroes into apes. Like that's, I mean, for goodness sake, it was an actual Justice League comic book storyline called JL8, where the Justice League themselves were turned into apes. We've talked about it before because of that one scene with Flash where he dreams about that. So yeah, there was a whole comic book series on the ridiculousness of this idea. However, I think the fact that it is solved in such I don't think I articulated that in a good way. It's like, yeah, the way that it's solved and Superman just like it's 30 seconds that they're apes. There's no real gravitas to the fact that they've been transformed here. They have the exact same powers. They can talk, they can communicate. So there's nothing really that's changed other than they have like a couple of holes ripped in their costumes. Like that's the difference. Superman can still fly, still has X-ray vision, and still has super strength and is able to, just hurl the gigantic box into the sky and it explodes and everybody's not apes anymore. So that's the part where I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
And my defense is actually it rules, and you're wrong. That's my well thought out argument. It's pretty cool.
Tough but fair. Yeah. I gave plot a 5 out of 10. I think it's fine. You know what I think this is though? I'll wait till you give your score. My plot's a 5 out of 10. What about yours?
I went with an 8 out of 10.
Okay. You know what this is? This is our flip-flop version, the inverted version of This Little Piggy. Like, yes. This is exactly what this is. I love that episode. I love the fact that Wonder Woman gets turned into a pig and we have the Sui and all of that and and I
nitpicked it to death.
And you nitpicked it to death and I loved it and and now we've traded places. So It is a rare disagreement, worthy of the disagreement alarm, clearly. But yeah, that I think what we can agree on is there is some fun stuff here. I think the use of the Deadman character, while maybe not utilized to its best, I like seeing him in this. And he ends up coming back. There's kind of not really a direct follow up, but he does come back in Batman: The Adventures Continue if you don't get enough of your Boston Brand Deadman character. And then yeah, so there is some fun stuff here, and obviously it continues our story because despite the fact that he looks dead, by the way, shot point blank with a gun at the end, and so much so that our voice actor Powers Booth reportedly thought that his character was dead at the end of this episode. Grodd does return, and Luthor is now the leader of the Legion of Doom. So we've got that coming for us in the next couple of weeks. So it is a worthwhile venture to at least something got done in this episode, not just our heroes being turned into apes, I suppose.
There you go.
All right, Liam, let's continue with our next category of the day, which is going to be animation and visuals. Once again, we talked about this being directed by friend of the show, Dan Reba, and animation services provided by DR Movie Co. Let's talk about visuals. I mean, obviously, I think the culmination of our heroes here is we just spent some time talking about the JL apes. There's plenty to talk about with those, maybe in a little bit here, but some other stuff here beyond them. I think Boston Brand, the character design, the way that his powers manifest is certainly worth talking about. I think when we're talking about the way that the monks move and the martial arts that they do, I think is pretty interesting. The Ramakrishna scenes are pretty fascinating to look at. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the Deadman design. I think, I mean, as much as that is very much just the classic archetypal DC Comics Deadman look, just, interpreted into the Bruce Timm style. Man, I think that's a really striking design. A lot of that's on the like the color palette used. He has this like really deep crimson color and the big collar, which I think is a lot of fun. Like it just really strikes. There's a couple shots of him when he's floating, I think especially in Nanda Parbat, where he's like the moon's behind him and he's he has this slightly translucent effect the whole time, which I think it really creates some fun visuals. So all of the phasing, I think the bit where he's trying to move all the rubble as a ghost and his hands are just passing through the rocks is kind of fun and interesting. And then the way it's kind of visualized is when both when he possesses people and then also when Tala pulls him out a couple of times, and I think that's some really fun. So just the way they visualize him, I mean, just the character design itself I think is great, and then I think the way they kind of visualize his very unique power set is a lot of fun. But how about big hats off to to our background artists on this one. A lot of unique locations. I mean, Gorilla City we've been to, but not for a long time, and I feel like we've never seen this much of the city before. And then you have Nanda Parbat, which is a lot of fun. As you said, you have that sort of trippy alternate karma gods realm when he's speaking to Ramakrishna. Like some really, really creative and versatile backgrounds and locations in this one.
Yeah, they really did a great job. I think the scenes with Ramakrishna really do a great job of establishing the size of that character. Like, obviously, it's supposed to be a deity, and the way, I mean, there's a couple of things they did. Obviously, there's some scaling that they did with making Deadman be in the foreground and the eyes and the mouth of Ramakrishna kind of floating off in the distance. But that little swirl that the background has and all of that creates this, feels like a pocket dimension that is just vast, but Deadman feels so small in the midst of it, which I think is pretty interesting because it does feel like he's having a conversation with a deity at that point, or what you imagine a conversation with a deity would look like. So the fact that she's just kind of like neon eyes and a mouth is also pretty fascinating. Interesting depiction of a deity like that. I've never thought of a deity just having eyes and a mouth, but very interesting look, I suppose. Maybe it's faithful to the Krishna religion. Forgive me, I'm not brushed up on that. So if it is accurate, very good. And then we have back to Deadman's design really quickly. One thing that I do love about this design also is they kept sort of the wrinkly, decaying face that Deadman has. Like, for whatever reason, he's got these really deep, sunken in cheeks, I guess, to resemble sort of a deceased man, perhaps, or a ghost-like figure. He's got these deep wrinkles in his face, and the lines around his mouth and stuff like that really kind of make this stand out from just being a plain white mask that sticks to him. It just did add some character to his face, and so I really enjoyed that too. Obviously, as you mentioned, we get to see more of our Legion of Doom here, also in those various locations in Nanda Parbat, and a couple of newbies here. I don't remember. Is this the first time we've seen? Maybe we saw Rampage as a background character before. I don't remember her getting so much screen time before. It's been a while since we've reviewed JLU, so you'll have to forgive me. But her getting screen time was interesting. Definitely an interesting, visually looking character. I don't know proportions wise, how that works, but that's not up to me. That's up to the artist that draws Rampage, I suppose. But definitely an interesting looking character. Tala, get a little bit of more of a look at her. She's definitely interesting in the way that she kind of possesses her powers. We see those the whites of her eyes, and then the powers or the curses that she kind of puts out, or the magic that she uses kind of extends in translucent or transparent, purplish, hueish looking things that match her hair. So that's kind of cool. Like how that manifested. And we talked a little bit about the actual orb itself. There's a couple of really neat scenes. So this Heart of Nanda Parbat that they steal, when he steals it to begin with, and then Grodd is having this conversation with Luthor about what his plan is with the Heart of Nanda Parbat. He holds the orb, and you can he holds it there for a little while. You get this POV shot over Grodd's shoulder, so you see the reflection of Grodd's face in the orb as he's holding it there. And then you're looking at Luthor, and then Grodd pulls it closer to his face, and the orb moves, and so does the reflection. I thought that was captured really neatly. And then you switch views, and you get Grodd holding the orb, and you get Luthor's reflection in the orb. And I thought that scene, again, just little details there that worked really well for what they were going for. And then of course our ape. The ape versions of our characters at the end. My only sad thing is that we didn't get to see like Devil Ray as an ape, or it would have been interesting to see what he looked like in the costume and also as an ape, or some of the other members of the Justice League as apes. I think that would have been interesting, but alas, we just had our three. Maybe they selected the Trinity because they only wanted to have to do like a handful of designs of our heroes and villains as gorillas. But as goofy as it is, I think it is pretty funny to see the visualization, and then of course hear the voices of our known voice cast coming out of these gorillas as they're running around and albeit briefly to try and figure out how to reverse the curse, so to speak. But yeah, a lot of great, interesting looking things here with our visuals here for this episode, which I went with a real high score with this one. I went with a 9 out of 10 for my visuals. I think there's a lot to love here, a lot visually that's interesting beyond just our character looks, as we mentioned, and I think it shows up in my score there.
Yeah, I actually gave it a 9 out of 10 as well, and I can't remember if we mentioned this in plot, but folks may have noticed in a couple of shots, Bizarro has like a scar mark on his forehead, which was not an accident or just a frown line or something. the idea is apparently, and this is from an old forum post that Bruce Timm made years ago, which I believe you can still find online thanks to the DCAU wiki and the Wayback Machine. But basically, the idea is that, like a lot of these villains that Grodd has given "quote unquote" upgrades to, there was some surgery performed on Bizarro at some point, which is why he is willing to I think work with Lex after being not a fan of him, after Lex was his creator after all and left him for dead in Superman the Animated Series, and also why he's so willing to fight and attack Superman again after they sort of parted as friends at the end of Bizarro's world. So there's your continuity reasons. They did draw that in on at least on a couple shots of Bizarro there. But yeah, love all the villains. There's a great shot where Superman grabs, I believe it's Blockbuster, and just slams him into the ground and creates like a mini earthquake and knocks a bunch of the other the Devil Ray guys over and stuff like that. I think so. They do some cool stuff of again, just getting to see the Trinity in action, which is great too. And yeah, I think that's I think there's some really good stuff. Yeah, it is. I do really like how they visualize that weird sort of wispy purpley light that comes off of Tala's spells. I think is really cool. It's funny, we saw her briefly in the Doomsday Sanction and Task Force X. And then there's an episode where she gets trapped in a mirror, which we haven't talked about yet because we're saving that for a future theme month later on. But I just want to say, like, she was working for Amanda Waller and then just got trapped in a mirror and nobody noticed until Grodd got her out, or was the mirror just in like Cadmus storage somewhere? And they're like, we'll solve this later.
Good question.
And then Grodd stole it. I would like to know. that we may actually have a question later that where we can expand on that. But yeah, Grodd. Interesting how Grodd apparently maybe he knows some mysticism himself, as he was able to free her and have her along for the ride here. But yeah, just a lot of great stuff visually across the board, as is reflected in our scores.
Yeah, that whole I neglected to mention that whole fight scene between once the League finally gets into the Gorilla City and seeing the other villains kind of running around. There's one shot of Golden Face who Goldface rather, who using his powers and turning a bunch of the gorilla soldiers into like gold statues, and he like knocks one over that's like because it looks like at first it's just kind of like a gorilla monument, and then you realize it's because Goldface has transformed these guys into solid gold pieces. But that sequence is pretty fun to watch too, as our Leaguers come in and save the soldiers of Gorilla City.
Absolutely. And then I guess we're just, the only thing left is just to run down our uncredited appearances in the Legion of Doom at the end.
Go for it.
All right, we have Angleman. Who could forget? Atomic Skull, who is actually a part of the episode. Black Mass, Blockbuster, Bloodsport, Cheetah, Cersei. Well, Cersei's not in the episode. Like, she's on the video.
She's on the video board, yeah.
Copperhead, Crowbar, Dr. Cyber, Dr. Polaris, Dr. Spectro, a lot of doctors. Dummy, Evil Star, Fastball, Goldface, Javelin, The Key, KG Beast, Lady Lunar, Livewire, Major Disaster, Merlin, Monocle, Nightfall, Psycho Pirate, Puzzler, Queen Bee, Shark, Sinestro, Sonar, Star Sapphire, Taj Zay, Tattooed Man, Sakuri, Volcana, and the Weather Wizard.
Well done, my friend. Yeah, so a lot of evil in this episode. There you go. All right, Liam, let's move on to our next category of the day, which is going to be music. And Lolita Ritmanis, responsible for the music for this week. I will freely admit, I think the things that stood out to me, there's a really strong emotional musical cue when the Master dies at the temple at the beginning, when the part of the temple collapses on top of him. There's this kind of striking realization that Deadman has a shock look on his face, and it's kind of accentuated by the music there. And then when he tries to save the Master, and the Master gives him the speech that he needs to stop them from his mission now is to stop them from stealing the heart of Nanda Parbat. He kind of gets this it's this charge for him to stop the evildoers from doing what they're doing. So it's kind of this excited kind of push for him that's kind of accentuated by the musical push there. Of course, we get some music throughout that kind of sets our tone. The fight sequence again in Gorilla City has a pretty unique track there. And then of course once the machine goes off and people start transforming into apes, there's some music that occurs then, and then a little bit some subtle stuff in the sequences with that he has with Ramakrishna, and the conversations that he has with her once he's kind of broken the fact that the scales are unbalanced, and then she tells him that the souls are returning to the bodies. There's this more sort of like, I don't know, spring-like sounds that are going as the souls return to the bodies, and this kind of uplifting music so we learn that our master is even revived from his apparent death. So a little bit there, but those were the things that stuck out to me. Anything that I didn't hit on that you kind of recognized or that stood out to you music wise?
No, definitely, yeah. I think definitely the Nanda Parbat stuff you mentioned is definitely where my notes were as well. Yeah, the bit there we'll talk about is when you get that reveal of everyone coming back to life at the end. I definitely think that's the best of the episode. That being said, I didn't have much else written down for music, so I ended up just going with the usual 5 out of 10. If you don't have a lot of notes, that means it was probably fine but didn't stand out. So I went with the classic 5 for this case.
Yeah, I gave it just 1 point higher. I went with a 6 out of 10. I do think the triumphant music at the end and the sort of the reveal that our heroes are in fact not dead, albeit it sort of undercuts the episode. It does have a feel good vibe to it, and the music I feel like pushes that feeling through. And then the tragic element, of course, where we think that they're dead at the beginning. So those two bookended pieces I felt like were pretty strong there. So 6 out of 10 for me. All right, Liam. Well, that will bring us to our final category of the day, which is going to be our voice acting. So we have a lot of players on the screen, but I guess just kind of a normal-sized cast. So not a lot of voices assigned to some of those villainous characters because they're just kind of sitting there. They don't get to actually talk. But we've got some voices to talk about here with this week's voice cast.
Yeah, so we have Sab Shimono playing the master, as well as probably some of the other warriors of Nanda Parbat. Maybe best known as far as live action roles, he was in the third Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action film, the one where they go back in time to Japan, I believe. But more recently, he's also appeared in things like the Magnum PI reboot, and has also done some other voice acting work as well. And yeah, I think he does a good job. Just the classic sort of archetype of the sage master. I like that. I mean, this is more of a plot detail, but the idea that he and Batman have a past as well is a fun little wrinkle to throw in there. But yeah, I think he does a good job of what's asked of him. And I do love that line at the end that kind of goes hand in hand with the music that we just talked about, where he kind of just has this smile on his face, and he just kind of says, "No one dies in Nanda Parbat," as everybody is sort of coming back to life at the end. I was like, oh, that's fun, and also kind of weird and eerie when you say it like that. Kind of makes it feel like the Hotel California. But yeah, that's I think he does a good job.
Yeah, he's great. I think the emotional beats, his whole thing is he's supposed to be this stoic warrior, which he certainly communicates at the very beginning. And I think that the tragic part where we think that he's dead, the last gasps of breath that he has to deliver to give Deadman the charge to avenge, not to avenge him, but to stop them from stealing the heart of Nanda Parbat is great. And then that little line at the end feels like it could have been in any kids movie or TV show where you kind of get the triumphant return of the character we thought was dead with he's kind of got a little smirk as he's delivering the lines, which is great. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a good, not a lot for him to do, but I thought he did well.
Absolutely. We do briefly have Lex Lang. He's voicing the Atomic Skull, as well as Joe Morton and one of the other, I think Joe Morton's the Atomic Skull's name. And then and then one of the other Temple guards. We do just very briefly have David Ogden Stiers returning as Sullivar, of course, known for his live action role as on MASH, but also as the voice of Cogsworth in Beauty and the Beast, and Jumba and Lilo and Stitch, among other things. Great to hear from him. Wish he got more to do. He kind of just has the one scene, but it's fun that he's back for this little one off.
Yeah, that you didn't have to have. I mean, it kind of would have been weird, I feel like, because it takes place in Gorilla City, that Salvar wouldn't be there. And I guess you could have just recast him with one of these other voices that were already there, because it is just one line. But it was nice to have him back. Yeah, he's very recognizable voice, clearly, and this role really does feel home for him. So it's nice hearing him there, even though he didn't have a ton to do.
Absolutely. And then we have Michael Beach, who is playing both Devil Ray and is also playing Mr. Terrific, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, he ends up playing Black Manta's father in the live action Aquaman movie.
What are the chances of that, you know?
I wonder if that was known, like, when he was cast, if that was, or if he thought about that, having played. Obviously, it wasn't actually Black Manta due to legal reasons, but that's basically who he is. So, yeah, how about that? And also, yeah, a lot of live action credits to his name as well. Yeah, it's funny because he has this kind of voice effect on his voice when he's Devil Ray, and I know we've talked about him at least once before in To Another Shore. Yeah, I like this version of him. One, it's a shame we never get to see him interact with Aquaman, and then two, that this is it because they kill him off. Because yeah, he does have this very sort of cold, calculated way about him, and he's very much like he's a sociopath. Like when Wonder Woman, as possessed by Deadman, confronts him, and he basically does the Blight meme. Like she's like, you killed my friend, and he's like, I genuinely don't know who you're talking about because I've killed so many other people. Like he's so cold and unfeeling about it, and it's just it's like breathing to him. It's like you get that impression. So I guess my only complaint is that this is it for our legally distinct water-based supervillain.
Yeah, especially how badass he is, as you mentioned, especially at the beginning. He is cold and calculated at the beginning, gets a really cool, neat line when the guy tries to stop him from entering Nanda Parbat, tells him, keep the change as we get our roll to credits, which is really fun. Yeah, he's he didn't necessarily go out the strongest, but boy, he left an impression here. So yeah, unfortunate that we don't get more of him as Devil Ray going forward. But yeah, and I thought honestly his Mr. Terrific was great too. I think there's just a kind of a calmness and a peace about him. He's kind of the man, like you said, the man behind the control board there. He's got to give instructions. He's really only there to provide a little bit of exposition to our Trinity and our possessed Superman. But yeah, good dual roles for Mr. Beach this week.
Yes, and then next we have Juliet Landau. She's voicing both Tala and I believe she is the voice of Ramakrishna as well. And if you're curious why this person got cast, she was in Buffy. She was in Bruce Timm's favorite show. Maybe, I'm sure, that's not to discount her as an actor at all. It's just as soon as I saw Buffy in the credits, I'm like, well, that's why she was on the radar.
That's right.
They need someone to play a witch, and they brought in she played Drusilla on Buffy. She's also done a bunch of other voice acting and live action work as well. Yeah, it's funny. Her Tala voice I had forgotten because again we've only gotten kind of glimpses of her in those Cadmus episodes briefly, but it's like man, she's so like moose and squirrel like stereotypical like it's somewhere vaguely Eastern European, but you can't quite put your finger on it. But she's very generic evil Saturday morning cartoon, not necessarily in a bad way, because I think the character's also very funny in the sense that she's just like very opportunistic and was was willing to attach herself so to speak, to to whoever's sitting in the big chair, so to speak, between Grodd and Lex here. So she becomes a pretty important part of the rest of this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think she does a fine job. I think the one line that she gets about Grodd being too much man for Giganta is great, and then the clear switch at the end where they make it painfully obvious that she's just there for whoever's in charge. She doesn't, she's there along for the ride, proverbially speaking, not necessarily literally, although maybe that too. And she's going with whoever's the leader. She's going with the winning team. She's a fair weather fan and not afraid to admit it. So. Some good stuff from her, some subtle comedy in the way that she delivered some of her lines. And of course, we get more episodes later on where she's a little more heavily featured and gets to kind of show some of those. So we'll talk about that, I'm sure, more down the line.
Absolutely. And then we have our two head villains. We'll put them together here. We have, of course, Powers Booth returning as Gorilla Grodd, and the great Clancy Brown as Lex. And what I love is that these guys are so catty with each other. Like I again, I think it's just been a little while since we've reviewed JLU, but like they're so sassy with each other. And I'm sure a lot of that goes to the credit of Dwayne McDuffie's script here as well. But they're just like, every time they speak to each other, they manage to throw in some little dig at the other. Like they're just constant, like, Grodd's like, oh, you're pretty smart for a Homo sapien, and then and Grodd, and again, Lex's whole diatribe at the end is like, okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't gonna do this for a while, but your big plan was to turn everyone into an ape, so now I'm gonna shoot you. Like, right. It's like they're so catty with each other and so like snide with each other, and it's kind of a different dynamic than I feel like we've ever seen either Lex or Grodd have to this point. So it's fun having them play off each other, and also just because they're two obvious, great powerhouse actors that we've talked about time and time again.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Obviously, some great chemistry between the two of them, and some great verbal barbs back and forth, as you mentioned. It would be disappointing if we didn't get more Powers Booth here. So again, glad that despite the initial appearance, we get the stay alive groan from Mr. Booth, who does let us know that Grodd is just, I guess, hurt really, really bad from getting shot point blank like that.
Yeah, in one of the DVD extras, they refer to this as a taser. That is not a taser Grodd is holding. It is a gun. It's a laser gun or whatever, but it's a gun.
Yeah. Who are we kidding here? But yeah, Luthor, after he's transformed into, I mean, it goes with the visual too, but after he's transformed into the gorilla, and you can just see, like, you see and hear just the disdain that he has for Grodd at that point over how dumb this is. And then him just no qualms, just calling Grodd out at the end. The just total disgust that Clancy Brown has in his voice comes through really strong there. Great stuff from both of our villain leads.
Absolutely. And then we'll get to our guest star hero. We have Raphael Sabarja as Deadman, best known perhaps for his work. More recently, he was on the live action Once Upon a Time series. He was also in Risky Business with Tom Cruise way back in 1983. Long-standing actor and producer, in fact, in Hollywood, still active now. I do really enjoy him. Again, he's got this, like, it's not quite it's not Boston, which you would think would be obvious based on his first name, but the character's first name, but it's not quite like classic New York, hey, I'm walking here either. He's just got this, as you said, this almost like unplaceable Northeastern accent that he's doing. And as we'll talk about in a moment here, really the best part of it is that when he then possesses someone, all of the other actors who he possesses then have to imitate that accent, which leads to a lot of fun. But as our dead man, who's kind of he's got to carry a lot of this himself before any of our Justice Leaguers show up. So I mean, he gets a whole action sequence kind of to himself. So I think he does a really good job as far as, kind of bargaining with the Master and with Rama about, like, hey, I've done my thing. He's kind of he's put into this role reluctantly, and he has this almost like air of kind of depressed inevitability about him because he doesn't he feels like he should be done, but he's still being sort of forced into serving as this weird ghost superhero, I guess.
Yeah, he is great. He does have a little bit of character to him, like you would expect, like a northeasterner to have. Definitely some character to the voice. He's incredulous at the beginning, kind of frustrated with the master, and then obviously he gets to show some emotion in frustration, and at the end when no one in particular, because Batman can't hear him, that he's trying to explain why he grabbed the gun and used Batman's body to shoot the gun, shoot Devil Ray. But yeah, there's some definitely some emotion that he gets to show there, and it is kind of interesting that his performance is kind of sidelined because of the character's abilities and how they manifest. So he doesn't get quite the lion's share that you would assume that he would get, this being kind of his vehicle for the week. But yeah, there's enough there to give a good grade, I'd say.
Absolutely. And then we just have our trio of main Justice Leaguers to talk about here. We have Kevin Conroy as Batman. We have the great Susan Eisenberg as Wonder Woman, and also, I believe, the voice of Rampage. And she's the child monk who sons Atomic Skull in their brief scuffle at the start of the episode as well. And then, of course, we have George Newbern as Superman. And as mentioned, one of the fun parts of that is George Newbern is playing Superman. He plays Bizarro, of course, in the tradition of Tim Daly voicing that character. And then he's also playing Boston Brand possessing Superman, which, as mentioned, then Superman just suddenly has like a slight like Brooklyn accent for a couple of scenes, which is a lot of fun. So probably of our main three here, Mr. Newbern probably gets the most versatility, or the most is asked of him, just because he's basically playing three separate characters, even if two of them are in Superman's body.
Yeah, that was the thing that kind of blew me away, is that he gets, he's asked to do this accent, which comes through the possession, which is really funny if you think about power manifesting that way, as a ghost speaking on Superman's behalf. Really, really funny. So, Mr. Newbern, I think, is the one who really ends up with the lion's share of stuff here because of just the amount of time that Deadman actually possesses him. Of course, he does briefly possess Wonder Woman. I don't think Miss Eisenberg did very much to try and add an accent to her voice. It's got like maybe 3 lines as Boston possessed by her, maybe slightly in the last line that she gives, but definitely not as much as Mr. Newbern has. But yeah, the Trinity for this episode being the focal point, we get to a lot of great stuff here. Kevin Conroy obviously doesn't get to necessarily verbally show Batman's frustration at the end very much, but he does have to kind of through his performance show the fact that Batman is upset that the sensei has been the master rather has been killed. So there's some disappointment there. There's the subtlety of Batman just happens to know everything and misses it keeps marching on without missing a beat as Boston Brand has possessed Superman. Just like, yep, all right, let's go. What are you doing here, Deadman? So that comes out, I feel like, in his performance there too. But yeah, our big three, unsurprisingly, really great job by all of them. But Mr. Newbern, I feel like always when you have to play 2 different characters, that always impresses me. And then here, really playing 3 different characters. And one of them is the normal character that you play possessed by somebody else, which manifests through a northeastern accent, is really, really fun. And he knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. So all things considered, I thought this is just for the wealth of talent that we have across this episode. So many of our top tier DCAU voice actors on display here. But yeah, I think especially because of George Newbern in this one, and then again, and this goes hand to hand with other categories as well, but Gorilla Grodd looking into the he's literally looking directly to the camera and shouting, "I'm going to turn every man, woman, and child on Earth into an ape." I mean, I can't give that any lower than where I settled, which is a 9 out of 10 for my voice acting score.
Yeah, I went 9 out of 10 also. So there we go. It's really impressive. The cast is really, really great. Some really fun lines that they got to deliver with all sincerity, as you mentioned there. So really, really demonstrated in our high scores there. So yeah, great voice acting and an impressive voice cast this week. All right, Liam, well, that will begin to wrap things up here for this week. So totaling everything up with my score, I ended up, despite with my middle of the road score for plot, I still ended up with a 29 out of 40. What about you?
Yeah, maybe not as big of a disparity as we would have expected based on where we started, but I finished off with a 31 out of 40.
There you go. Rewatchability. I think you got to rewatch it based on the. This is big. This is the episode where they get turned into apes. This is big.
well, and because Lex, shoots
course.
Grodd and takes over the society. That's a pretty big linchpin to the rest of the season.
All right, I guess I'll give you that one. All right, just not that they're apes. Okay. Yeah, no,
but really, also that they're apes.
Really, this carries on the story, the season-long story, and you kind of have to understand how. If you were to miss this episode, you'd be curious as to how or why Lex is in charge the next time you see him. So yeah, you kind of be lost with the episodic nature of this season. So I'd say 2 thumbs up for me. All right, Liam. Well, that will begin to wrap us up for this week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, we would love your support for the episode and the podcast for that matter. So if you like the podcast, there's some really great free ways that support us that you can do that. If you're listening on a podcast app right now, you can pause it and probably leave us a review. A 5-star review helps us out a lot and the algorithm and helps get more ears on the product, as we used to say. If you listen to us on Spotify, you can check out our poll of the week and our question of the week. Check that out if you're listening on Spotify, or if you're listening on Apple, you can leave us a 5-star review and leave a little blurb review. If you leave something there and you're within the United States, we'll send you a little thank you gift just for taking the time to leave a review. And then, of course, you can support us on social media at DCAU Review. So on Twitter X and Instagram, we are there at DCAU Review. We're also on Blue Sky and Threads and Facebook, which are not as well monitored, but are occasionally monitored. So if you want to get a message to us, we will eventually get your messages there. But the fastest way is Twitter X or Instagram at DCAU Review there. Follow us there, like our posts, slide into those DMs with your questions or thoughts. We love to interact with our listeners. And then, of course, our favorite ways we mentioned at the top of the episode is going to be buymeacoffee.com/DCAU Review. Head over there, become a one-time supporter of the podcast, or you can become a monthly supporter of the podcast, and you will get one of those fantastic perks. If you join us at the Super Friend level, you get access to ask us a question, as we mentioned here. And Liam, this week, we have a 2-part question from our good friend Zach, who's got a pair of questions here. And Zach says, how do you think Grodd was able to secure Tal's release from the mirror after the events of The Balance when she was betrayed by Felix Faust? And obviously, Deadman never showed up in Batman the Animated Series or the New Batman Adventures, but would you rather have seen him in an episode instead of Etrigan or the Creeper? That's a good question. So, got 2 here. Thoughts on how Tala got released from the mirror, as we kind of pointed out as we were going through there. She was last seen trapped in a mirror, and now she's just back. She's here with no explanation. And then, would you have liked to have seen perhaps Deadman replace one of those guest stars on the original New Batman Adventures run?
All right, so I have 2 ideas for how. One is that Grodd is vaguely interested in mystical stuff. We've seen that before, the Viking Prince and the Spear of Destiny that he had Luthor steal. So I think it could just be that maybe he's secretly he just found a spell or some sort of magic totem somewhere, and some adventure we didn't see on screen, and was able to secure her freedom that way. Or my other simpler way is the key can unlock any lock. I think that's his superpower. So maybe the key got her out.
Honestly, the key having like multi-dimensional travel essentially with the key was kind of what I was leaning towards as far as my answer as well.
Nice. Okay, well that'll be the show's official answer, but would love to hear anybody else's fan theories as well. Hit us up at DCAU Review.
There we go. And then as far as guest stars are concerned, I don't know. I mean, we obviously have not on the podcast. We have yet to cover the Etrigan or the Creeper episode, actually. So I do remember seeing the Etrigan episode a lot. Obviously, that plays a big role in him returning in Justice. Well, I guess not a big role. He could have been in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited without his prior appearance, I suppose. But it does make it feel a little bit more important when he returns in those series. So I do appreciate the fact that Etrigan was there. Interesting character also. So, and the fact that he was in the Batman Adventures annual comic special is kind of cool too. The Creeper I have a lot less affinity for and a lot less interest in, to be honest. So unless that episode completely blows me away when we review it, I think I would have to go with would have been interesting to see maybe the Batman and Robin adventure. Well, I guess the Batman Gotham Adventures comic book adapted for that final season. Sure, that was an interesting story. I don't know if you could have combined the both of them and kind of come up with a story where you introduce him as a character and then kind of explore his death on screen. But then again, it's a Saturday morning cartoon. You probably couldn't kill a guy on Saturday morning cartoons, even though it was on Kids WB by then. So they would have had to work some magic to get around it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember loving the Creeper episode as a youngster. I have not revisited it in a while. I don't really have a lot of affinity for that first Etrigan episode. So yeah, I definitely think a definite yes to. I wish we got more Deadman in the DCAU on screen for sure. As far as replacing one of those TNBA episodes, yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I probably lean more ironically towards replacing the Demon Demon Within episode if I was going to pick one of those two. But again, that's based on kind of Kid Liam's memories of those two episodes. So we'll have to wait and see when we get to those in TNDA.
Once again, thanks, Zach, for those questions. If you'd like to join Zach with asking some questions each and every week here on the podcast, head over to buymeacoffee.com/DCAU review today. Liam, we are continuing next week with another episode and another review of Justice League Unlimited, picking right back up here in order of that season. What are we looking at next week?
That's right. Next week, I think one of our few detours from this main Secret Society plot, as next week we get a parade that's maybe interrupted by a big, bald, angry general man. It's Patriot Act next week, and just as a preview, just a reminder, there's never any political commentary in superhero stories. So I don't know what we'll have to talk about next week, but we'll see.
Yep. So if you're easily offended by things, please tune in. This is your week. This will be your week to get offended.
We'll take the engagement if it takes clicks too.
That's right. We do love all sorts of engagement. Until then, though, I'm Cal.
And I'm Liam.
And we'll talk to you on the next episode of the DCAU.
Adios.